It's the summer, and because it's gonna be over 4 months since I started this podcast, I thought that I will just tell you more about who am I? Who is Christelle Nadia Fotso? It's always hard when you are going through shit to be very organized, and to start at the beginning because you feel the urgency. You're going through something that is basically occupying your mind. You're thinking maybe all over the place. And as I've said, in French and in English, the goal of this podcast is to tell you more about my story and my fight for justice. Not just for my dad, but for myself. And I always forget because the struggle is ongoing. I have no distance from my story. I don't have the luxury, of just doing this podcast in a place of peace where I can look back and just be, yes, this is what happened. There are urgent matters. There's still dangers out there for me. I still have this fight with the Brussels Bar Association. There's still questions with the DC, the District of Columbia Bar Association. My struggle is ongoing. So many unresolved issues that have to do with Cameroon and its moment where everything is just so unsettled. I've left Cameroon in 1993. It means that I've lived outside of Cameroon for most of my life. And still, what is happening there is having a huge impact in my life because to other people, even though I'm outside of Cameroon, what Cameroon says about me matters. Miente is determinant. It's sad. It's tragic. But that's the way it is. The gaze of other people, wherever, the DC bar, the Brussels bar, everybody I'm trying to tell this story to matters. And what is happening in Cameroon, unfortunately for me, in the sense that I have no control over it. Others are able to use it to take advantage of the fact that I'm away from Cameroon and I can't come back. I am a person with a disability, physically challenged, going through something that is just very, very heavy without any help because people are able to make all kinds of assumptions. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. Who am I? Christelle Nadia Fotso. I like to define myself as a writer, pretending to be a lawyer, pretending to be a writer. I take that from the movie Victoria, about a woman pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. So me and I am a writer, pretending to be a lawyer, pretending to be a writer. I'm a member of the DC bar. I've been a member of the DC bar since 2003. I left Cameroon in 1993, went to the master school in Dobson, New York for a year, then went to a prep school in Massachusetts, Northfield, Mount Hermon for 2 years, 11th grade and 12th grade, graduated, went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, did my bachelor in political science and philosophy, a minor in economics. Then I went to law school in DC, the Washington College of Law of American University, and did a master's in international relations. Went to work for the UN, came back to DC, went back to work from the UN, wrote at last a few books, 3 novels, 1 in English, 1 book of poetry, and a book about what was happening to my dad just before he died. So, a writer, pretending to be a lawyer, pretending to be a writer. Complicating niente. Disability. I've been disabled since I was 1 month old. My disability is at the center of my life. It is. It matters more than race and more than gender. We didn't disclose. If I were a man, things would be different. So gender here matters, but disability is defining thing here. It changes everything. It makes, first of all, Cameroon the impossible country for me. Not because it's Cameroon, because it's Africa, but because of the environment within which I was born. I call it in French jungle, UP, well-to-do jungle, where there is money, mostly new money, and a savage quest for power. Cameroon has been independent since 1960. So I come from that world of new money where people were succeeding. Appearances are very important, determinant. People would say that it has everything to do with tradition, but no. It has everything to do with the gaze of others and who gets to be on top or not. And when you are disabled in a world where after colonization, the struggle for power is even more violent, is problematic. Dad, one of the first African billionaires, had many wives, many kids, disabled child. So that's the background miente, and that's why I leave Cameroon and why my dad, even though I'm 14, makes it possible for me to go. What I tell him is that it's not gonna be possible for me to make it in Cameroon. The name Fotso makes it too heavy. Disability, gender, and the fact that I have a mother, quote unquote, who can't accept that she has a child who's disabled. My mantra is I think like an American, I love like a Latina, and I fight like a Cameroonian. Because of my education, I'm very, very much American in the way I think. And my love language is French. I feel in French. Claudio Grossman, the legendary dean of the Washington College of Law, used to say, I only speak one language because I speak English and Spanish. I speak English and French. If I have to talk about my feelings, and even this podcast, unfortunately for you guys, is much better in French. But we're gonna get better because it's very emotional. I have to talk to you about things that are still ongoing. I'm going through a lot of feelings, unresolved issues, miente. I'm fighting. So, what am I fighting about? In an episode, I talked about this guy who made a comment saying how he's wallowing in self-pity working for you. Those are the type of easy comments that I get a lot, especially from Cameroonians. From people who, without knowing shit about me, without even listening to this podcast, without even trying to Google my name or my father's name, I'm complaining. It's the womp womp. I had this conversation with somebody who was trying to convince me to just move on already. I felt outraged. Something unjust is happening here. But people are like, no, but this is Africa. It's too complicated. Why should we care? The who am I matters here. Because either I'm somebody who is just making all of this shit up. There's nothing to see here. It's normal. There are bigger problems in the world. It's sad, it's tragic. But what I tell you about who am I, my background, where I come from, my struggles, the fact that I was able to become a lawyer despite my disability in America, member of the District of Columbia Bar Association. What you know of Cameroon, of the Cameroonian moment, what they tell you about how things work in Cameroon, what is more likely? That there's nothing to see here, that something that is unsavory and illegal happen here. We start in Cameroon, Miante. We go to France, Switzerland, Belgium, where I had my imputation, Spain, America. I'm forgetting only Asian countries. Who am I? What do you do, Miante, when you get your education from American schools and you know that fighting for justice is important? Disability rights, Miante. For most of my life, I've had no disability awareness. None. I was able to do all of the things that I've done. Graduating from high school, getting my bachelor, my master's, my Juris Doctor, getting to the bar, working for the UN, all of that, writing books without ever being mindful of my own disability. Denial. I was the queen of denial. That was the only way I could do that. Even Miante, where I come from, my environment, jungle, well-to-do, a well-to-do jungle. Miante. What is more like that? Somebody like that, like me, is doing this podcast just basically to get you to pity me, or that there's something else going on here. Cameroon matters, but the way others see Cameroon is key, Miante, is key. What the world says when something illegal is happening to somebody born in Cameroon, outside of Cameroon, and that Cameroon, because some of its high officials have their fingerprints all over it, matters. The expression that I use in French is scandale d'État, something that has to do with the state in Cameroon and elsewhere. Miente, what my story shows is that what happens in Cameroon, in Africa, doesn't stay in Cameroon and in Africa. You know, there are always complicities elsewhere. People see it, people take the money, and pay. Well, it's Cameroon, it's Africa. Why should we care? Who am I? The complexity here. My difficulty in making things simple tells you something. How do you tell this African story? Is it an African story? It's very much an international story. Can you tell without talking about your disability when it's at the center of everything? What do you say? Do you just say, Miente, I've been a victim of a conspiracy of silence. I am not in Cameroon, but people still say that. It's a family issue, it's a private issue. And when people say that, they're not listening to me. I speak as a lawyer. I say criminal activities, discrimination, what has been happening to me, the fact that I've been marginalized, the Brussels Bar Association, and the unwillingness of the District of Columbia Bar Association to do anything. How? Marginalize. When you have all of those issues, Miante, you're going through it. You need help. You need to explain. It's exhausting. You've been away from Cameroon since 1993, and you have to explain to the world that what is happening to you is not private, that your disability matters, and that you're an exception. Almost all the rules, all the usual stuff, not necessarily because you're exceptional, but because you have so much heavy things to live with. This story, Miante, who am I? A writer, pretending to be a lawyer, pretending to be a writer. Woman, disability, Cameroon, all of that noise. My dad's story. How do I tell you this story? the podcast, French, English, hoping against all odds that eventually somebody's just gonna say, no, 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 no. This is the perfect example that the world should care about what is happening to Cameroon and to Cameroonians. It doesn't just stay in Cameroon. We can't just poo-poo it and just say, it is none of our business. My dad died Thursday, March 19, 2020. Father's Day in Spain, at the American Hospital of Paris. The way he dies alone, what the American Hospital of Paris handles, what happens to him is scandalous. There is so much smoke. We're not talking about just any black or African man. We're talking about Fotso Victor. And when I speak Miante, I am not just somebody you can just poo-poo. Who am I? Left Cameroon at 14. Prep school in America. Bachelor, UNCC. Political science, philosophy. Juris Doctor, American University. Masters in International Relations. Worked for the UN. I've written 5 books. So when I speak, I don't speak from a place of hysteria. And yet, crickets. So the only thing I can do is to make this podcast as watchable as possible so that somebody out there will say, no, I'm going to give her a hand, balance, indifference. All that is needed here are people to just ask a question. I don't need your compassion. It makes me feel warm inside, but this is a criminal matter. And because I'm fighting people who have the state power in many countries, there's no way I can turn this around without your help. That's the why of the podcast. And who am I is important to make you understand that I have the legitimacy and the baggage necessary to be taken seriously. So who am I? I'm a disabled writer, pretending to be a lawyer, pretending to be a writer, who has decided not to let anybody tell her how to live her life, tell her what is impossible, what should matter to her, and tell her what is her story. I'm refusing Miente because it's tough to go through what I'm going through, to just give up and say, okay, I'm gonna listen to people who think they can do me better than I can, who haven't been through what I've been through, who don't know shit about disability, about Cameroon, about gender. The goal is to refuse to give up and to fight till the end. Because I have no choice. I am not giving up. That tells you everything that you need to know about who am I. I didn't leave Cameroon at 14. I didn't go through what I went through at the master school, at North Philmonham, in North Carolina, in DC, the UN, to give up and to say to people who just have money, okay, I'm gonna let you define my life and decide what my story is. No. The summer is gonna be hot. I'm gonna try to make this podcast as fun as possible for you guys. And hopefully you will be able to follow and to care. So please subscribe to my channel, Miante. And don't forget, in English, the podcast is every Tuesday and every Thursday. If you understand French, it's every Monday and every Friday. So you can write to me. The email is in the description of this episode. I will see you Thursday. On reste ensemble.